Right now, it is time to welcome in our friend Dan Pizzuta from the 33rd team for his weekly spot with us here on the Team 980. Dan, what's up, dude? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So here's what I want to do with you today on the Commanders front, and then I want to get into this Thursday night game that we have tonight because it's a good one for once. Love that, and both teams are actually on full rest, so it'll be real football, not crap football. But on the Commanders front, I would like to go through the offense and the defense, and I want to try to say, all right, we're at the bye. What's one thing that you feel really confident in, and one thing that you're really worried about on both sides of the ball for Washington? So let's start on the offense. And what is one thing about the Washington Commanders offense that through 13 games at 8-5 going into their bye this weekend, you feel really good about for the final stretch of the regular season?
You know what? This is going to be a much different answer than it would have been if we did not have last week's game. And I think the one thing I feel good about is there does appear to be some change-ups that they have going on. They kind of went into that Tennessee game and did change some of the offensive game plan, gave some different looks. We had, Terry McLaurin lining up on the right side of the field. Jaden Daniels looked healthy again. He was scrambling, which we talked about. He hadn't been doing the past couple of games. So the fact that they were able to, even before the bye, have a small amount of change-ups. It wasn't a huge change in what they did, just schematically, but there just were, a couple of things that made some things easier. The fact that they were able to do that in the game before the bye does give me a little more confidence that there is going to be some more changes coming through the end of the season after the bye too. And I think that's one thing that we really worried about for this offense this kind of entire season, especially these past couple of weeks. So the fact that it's there right now, I think it does give me a little more confidence going into the next couple of games once they come after the bye.
So to flush that point out a little bit more, when you watch the best offenses around the league, how much are they tweaking and how often are they tweaking? Because like you said, there wasn't some dramatic changeup of what they have done and who they have been. They made small tweaks that made a huge difference. How do the best offenses in the league do that, both in terms of kind of, I don't want to say like put an exact percent on it, but I don't know how else to try to do it, and then with what frequency?
Yeah, I think it's a little different with what, Washington and, Cliff specifically does, because so much of what Washington does is they're running a lot of the same stuff. But they're going to use like a lot of speed to do it. So they're running a lot of the same plays. And so a lot of the other defenses in the league will kind of dress up what they do. It'll still be the same things, but it looks a little different. I think one of the things with Cliff is that there's, not a lot of motion and things, and it's still very static, is defenses that kind of sit on what they and kind of their main plays. So I think it is a little different between how some of the, other offenses in the league kind of dress up what they want to do and how a kind of Cliff Kingsbury offense does. So I think the fact that there was a little more in this, where you did have someone, McLaurin going over to the right side, they were running some more like under center play action too. So just the fact that there were just a couple more things, I think it is a little different in the way that like we'll see like a Green Bay right now is probably going to run like the same kind of split zone run that they like to do, except it's going to look in 9 different ways they can get into it. It's a little different than what Washington does.
Okay, so then if we flip the question here, what is the number one thing that worries you about Washington's offense over the final stretch of the regular season and presumably, hopefully, fingers crossed, into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of going to be on the injury front, where I think you're looking at, Eckler is going to be, looks like, out for a while, and I think you're just going to be a little worried about Jaden Daniels a little bit and that rib. The fact that he was able to scramble a little more, he looked comfortable and willing to scramble. But if he does, have some injuries and that does take out that part of his game, I think we kind of saw how that limits some of the passing offense and some of the creativity that they can have inside and outside of structure. So if that is something that, comes up and maybe lingers a little more, or if there's, another injury that that pops up, I think that just kind of having him be able to have that full range of what he's able to do with his movement and everything. I think, that was one of the concerns you kind of had from him coming into the season as he was a draft prospect. And he just kind of saw that over the past couple of weeks. So if he can stay healthy, that's going to be awesome. If he does get a little banged up and some of that explosiveness and some of the athleticism that he has that is such a dangerous weapon isn't able to be used at its, top ability, that kind of does hamper that offense a little bit.
Dan Pizzuta, writer, 33rd Team, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Okay, so this question might be, I don't want to say more interesting, I don't know. We'll see what it is. It's the same question, but on the defense. The thing you're most confident in the Commanders' defense as they head into the final month of the regular season is?
I think just the fact that they are pretty stout up front, and this run defense has been really good. Right now, they're fourth in success rate against the run among all teams. So the fact that they are able to kind of hold up and have some of these very good run fits that they just are kind of being able to do in terms of just having, that structure in place and being fundamentally sound in there. And I think that goes along the defensive line, that goes along, the linebackers too, the way they're able to fit the run. The fact that the fundamentals are there something that is definitely very encouraging to see for this group specifically, and just kind of Washington in general, because we've talked about it plenty over the season. That is not something that has been there necessarily for a Washington defense in previous years.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you also see, at times they've given up some big ones in the run, but down in, down out, they're pretty good, like you said, with the success rate stat. But if other teams can't get off a higher play volume because the Commanders' offense controls the ball, it can get really sideways, such as the Tennessee game, the Carolina game, the Arizona game earlier this year. There's a distinct formula that they have. That said, if that formula is not working, we can see this defense face some real struggles. So what is the thing that worries you the most for Washington's defense the rest of the year?
I'm pretty interested just to see what this secondary is going to look like once Marshawn Lattimore still comes in. And he was playing at a very high level when he was playing in New Orleans. So the fact that once he's healthy, and he should be after the bye, he slides into the outside, how does that mix and match kind of what Washington has been able to do and have some success with so far? Are you going to be, moving Sancho around a little more? Are you still going to be trying to mix and match who the second outside corner is? So how they kind of gel over the next couple games, I'm going to be very interested to see that, because I think it does have a high ceiling, but I think it could also, have some high variability while they're trying to figure out maybe what that best kind of match of three guys is, because they play nickel so often. I think that we could, see some up and downs just while they try to figure out what the best personnel is going to be over the last couple games of the regular season.
Dan, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much, and we will talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good one.